Welcome back to another installment of Conversations with Willi. My guest today is Steve Gabriel, who is the program director, co-founder of the Finger Lakes Permaculture Institute. And that's up in Ithaca, New York. Good morning, Steve.
Morning, Willie.
Can you introduce yourself briefly and talk a little bit about the Institute and its goals for us?
Sure. Well, personally, I've been involved with permaculture since 2003. I was infected with it in Scotland at Findhorn Eco Village and came back to the States and took my PDC, and then we started the Finger Lakes Permaculture Institute in 2005 in the fall. And it really started with just the idea that we would hold a design certification course for the Finger Lakes region in New York State because there wasn't one available. And it was so successful that we've since grown. And every year we offer a course, and we do several intro classes. We do a summer apprenticeship, a 2-month intensive apprenticeship, and we've been getting into mushrooms and doing mushroom classes as well.
Interesting. You see mushrooms as the future of the planet then?
I
That's
see
so dope.
mushrooms. Yeah. I see mushrooms as one of the futures. I think there's people are excited about mushrooms right now on multiple levels. They're fascinated with them as organisms, and their cultivation is rather easy, and the products are really nutritious. Mushrooms can help clean up toxins in the environment. So there's a lot of entry points for mushrooms in teaching people about greater issues in ecology.
Very cool. Good. I didn't know that. Interesting. When you were at Findhorn, you must have encountered some mystical sides of nature or permaculture. Can you talk about Findhorn's poetry and song building capacity, and if you think permaculture has a mythology building to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think Findhorn, one of my favorite parts is that as an eco village, it's up in the, rather remote area of Scotland, but it's quite diverse. And as an example, I worked in the kitchen there, and we'd routinely have 6 or 8 people cooking meals for close to, 200 people every day. And as many people were cooking, there's as many countries represented. So I usually cooked with people from 6 or 8 different countries, and which was a really rich experience. And then, there was a meditation hall there that throughout the day had a Buddhist hour, had a Muslim hour, had different Christianity gatherings. And so it was really a eclectic pot of sort of everyone's interests and beliefs, and encouraged to sort of explore the whole range of things. I think permaculture is unique in its support of mythology or cosmology, cosmology that is unique to each person, and it can support a multitude of those.
Hmm. That's cool. I really appreciate that. What are some of the common symbols in permaculture these days, do you think? The stuff of
Um,
story. Yeah. How are we building stories with symbols? So what would those symbols be?
yeah, well, I think there's ideas. The principles can be really really powerful. There's a language when you say problem is the solution, or when we keep looking for opportunities in different design challenges. I see that as a big one.
Hmm.
I see things like the branching patterns that show up in a lot of tends to be an icon that represents a multitude of permaculture principles and ideas in a very small space, a very functional space.
Mm-hmm. Um, Permaculture to me is a movement to localization, back to the local community and self-sufficiency. Are you teaching localization at the Institute?
Yeah, we're teaching. We have people coming from all over the United States and abroad too. A lot of folks come down from Canada, and we've had a few students from Brazil and things like that. And so it's it's a challenge because it's such a great discipline to take anywhere in the world. We have a past apprentice who's now in Africa doing some amazing permaculture work there. So it's global, and yet, you know, we with our apprentices, we immerse them in the local landscape. They live outside for 2 months and really get a sense of what's going on in this very small backyard that we have, and get intimately knowing the plants and animals and what's going on there. So it's teaching the ideas of connecting to place, and then being able to really take those ideas anywhere and connect and localize, you know, wherever you might be in the world.
Mm-hmm. I understand that we share ecology as a discipline, as an education. I wanted to know how your idea of stewardship has changed over the years.
Well, I think, you know, when I first got into ecology and studied environmental science in college and things, it was very much that the paradigm was very much that humans needed to kind of stay out of ecosystems because they only could do harm to them. And my biggest thinking that shifted is not only can we do benefit to ecosystems as we engage with them and see ourselves as part of them, but also that we're actually essential caretakers of these environments because they've been so degraded over the past several generations that they really need our support in helping to revive the health of them. We really have an essential role to play at this point. We really can't ignore it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, tell me what is sacred to you.
I missed that question.
Oh, tell me what is sacred to you. Is forestry, is being in the woods, and is reading the forested landscape and making decisions about forest management. And to some, maybe cutting down trees even seems like something anti-sacred, but I feel most as an organism of the forest, as a forest dweller, when I'm in and managing, making decisions that benefit the forest health, there's a real meditation to that for me. So that idea of stewardship is a sacred practice then, sounds like.
Yeah, very much so. You know, I don't take the decision to cut any tree or to turn over any soil or plant any plant lightly. You know, we're interacting with organisms all the time, and life and death are a part of growth and renewal. And you know, we have to be aware in every step we interact with these organisms, and they demand our respect.
Well said. Steve, do you think that permaculture is a revolution? Is it going to be a big thing, or is it sort of a fringe thing? How do you see it?
Well, right now I'm actually, my day job, because permaculture work doesn't quite count all the beans, is I work for Cornell University in the horticulture department, and so that's pretty mainstream, pretty big scale ag school. And you know, I've seen over the years I've been involved there. I'm involved with a grant now to help farmers in New York State and in the Northeast region grow mushrooms based on Cornell shiitake research. And, you know, it's really shifting. People are getting the interconnectedness of systems and the need for us to engage in a more meaningful, more positive way. And while an institution like Cornell is still going to be doing, unfortunately, research on genetic engineering and big ag stuff, there are also a lot of movement towards organics and towards small localized solutions. So I'm seeing a little bit of both. It has a potential to be, and it really has the need to, you know, we as permaculturists have done a really bad job in the last 30 years or last 40 years of collecting data and documenting what we do and how it works. And that's what's important to people in the academic world. And I think that's a personal mission of mine to start doing that, because, you know, we need to show that these examples aren't just anecdotal, that they really work with the numbers. So that'll be
yeah. How would you propose to document your work? What's the best way to get the message documented and out?
I think right now, it's just taking good notes. It's keeping a journal. It's noting temperature and weather patterns. It's noting, when you harvest something, weighing it. It's noting how many hours it takes you to do a certain task or create a certain thing. It's taking pictures of soil before and after you sheet mulch. It's taking pictures of plants as they grow, or drawing them is even better. Just really keeping track of things over time. So many people are putting permaculture into practice in sites, and they don't have before and after pictures to show what it looked like before they put in this amazing ecosystem.
Yeah.
So simple things like that can really go a long way.
One of the challenges as a researcher writer to get a hold of permaculturists is that they're always in the field. They probably connect with a computer 10% of the time, and I'm always pretty much wired. So isn't there a mandate to use the internet and social media better as you talk about documentation?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a question of devoting some of that time during the off season to processing. Maybe you take your notes in the field in the growing season, and then during the off season you can process and write about them more. That's something I try to do. And I think, there's this really great notion that's catching on in the science world of citizen science, which is getting people in their backyards to take notes about bird migration or bird sightings, or looking at the flowering times of different plants and reporting that. And that's creating really meaningful data about climate change, is people telling a central database, what's going on with when their lilacs are blooming in their backyard. And so I think there needs to be more outlets like that, with this sort of citizen science idea, that it becomes easy for people to log on and make reports and generate data, so that people that maybe are online more often can help tell that story better.
Very good. What's your feeling about GMO and the Monsantos of the planet? How are you guys dealing with that as a permaculturist? Genetically modified organisms.
Well, yeah.
I mean, isn't that a fight? Isn't that a line in the sand to you, or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very challenging one. I would say, the biggest thing is that I think what we have to do on our end, and it's really an issue with a lot of global type things, that I see biotech is really is one issue amongst many, but I'm just as concerned around here about the dairy practices and the spreading of disease through manure and things like that, and hydrofracking. That's a big issue in our area, and things like that. It's really just industrial culture that's really the issue. And so with GMOs, it's breeding plants locally. It's propagating local strains of plants. It's showing that we can have abundance of food, really highly nutritious food, with much simpler agricultural practices. It's really providing a different framework is the biggest thing I see to go against that, and showing people that it's really not a necessary avenue to go down.
Even though the corporate mandate says it is. The corporate mandate is profit and control of the seed base. So to me, it's a big problem, yeah.
It's absolutely a big problem. I think that, again, it goes back to the data, though. They do a good job of saying, well, we can show you how much food we can produce and whatever, and justify it. And that's something we haven't done. I talked to the dean he's the chair of the horticulture department at Cornell, and he said he thinks permaculture is about 20 years behind, in the sense that it's where organic farming was 20 years ago. Where people thought it sounded nice and it sort of made sense, but it wasn't practical. And the evidence now is that organic farming is highly practical and profitable and works. So, we need to get on that track, I think, to really make a case for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes, right. The youth, it seems like the youth of the planet are headstrong into video games and computers and social media. How do you turn people on who are 7, 8, 9, 10 to permaculture? What's the hook?
Well, I still, I always joke with our apprentices. I still hope there's somebody out there that will create a permaculture video game someday. Because that's one way. But there's a really great project in our local community in Ithaca here that's a good example of taking a childhood passion, which is technology, which is something they're plugged into, and combining that with sustainability or permaculture. So there's a group of kids called the Green Gorillas, and they use media. They use mostly video and audio interviews, and they produce films about sustainable activities that are going on in the area. So they go to a farm, or they came out to our sugar bush a few winters ago, and they literally interview us and learn how to ask good questions and interview, and also to make these amazing films. They do some incredible work. And so it's that sort of partnering with technology. And again, the citizen science is another way to use the computer as a tool to connect people to the natural world. I think it's often made a case it's like that technology is against what we need in the natural world. And I think there's a good synergy there, and we just have to find those connections.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate your time today, Mister. I wanted to finish up today to ask you about whether or not you see this whole issue of the crash or the transition or the meltdown. Tell me a little bit about how you see the next 5 to 10 years and how you talk about it.
I think it's really hard to know. For me, it's important to remember one of the first mentors I ever had, said that he was living a self-sufficient or aiming for self-sufficiency in a strong, resilient local community, regardless of the issues of a meltdown or climate catastrophe, that it gave him a lifestyle and a community that was fulfilling beyond any other, imaginable way to live one's life. And so for me, I would do this work anyway, even if there wasn't these sort of looming catastrophes. So it's important to continue on that road regardless.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the biggest thing that I'm seeing over the next 5 or 10 years is dramatic weather events, and so we keep seeing, last summer here in the New York State area was one of the driest and hottest on record. This spring and winter was one of the wettest on record. And so our systems have to just be that resilient. And the good thing, the opportunity in that is that our local like, how do we deal with excess water runoff? It's more than they've ever seen. And so if they can see swales or water mitigation strategies that we might suggest working, it might actually encourage people to adapt these strategies quicker. So I'm looking at those extremes of weather as something people are very aware of. I've been using the issue of the emerald ash borer as a linchpin to say we really need to get into our forests and create healthier, disease-free forests. So there are opportunities there to get people into the landscape and thinking about really good management.
Are you someone who is looking forward to running for political office based on permacultural principles? To see to see that need to play the game, to play the politics?
I do. One of our co-founders, he's now on the local planning board. Especially on the local level, I don't have a lot of faith in an area where there's a lot of rural poor, and local government really have to step up and take on more responsibility and work with the land. So that very local know your neighbor's commitment is the way to go.
Excellent. Steve, I really appreciate your time. I'll get this up on YouTube so you can be a part of the social media effort here. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Willie.
Ciao, baby.
Take care.
Bye-bye.